Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K Collector, and it has been one heck of a week. I want to do a quick recap on just everything that I've picked up and how I've gotten it, and I really want to kind of go through a brief comparison over my experiences with shopping at GameStop, doing online pickups at pawn shops or just even Amazon, and then doing like networking to get games, because I think I've pretty much used every avenue to add the games here that you see here to the collection. And each stack represents a different method of collecting. So I'm going to kind of go through it here and kind of let you know how I was able to pretty much get almost all these games within a week. So really quickly, a lot of the ability to build up trade credit came from a massive N64 and PlayStation 1 score. That deal was about a $5,000 deal. And I would say that I probably kept maybe $4,000 worth of the games and used about $1,000 of the games towards trading for other games. So that was one huge lot that I picked up. And then there was another lot that I picked up from someone who reached out to me on Instagram. It was a large DS lot. They added some extra games in there. And then I also used some of the games from that lot to make some purchases, right? I used those for trade credit as well. That lot was roughly around $4,000 or so in value. And with that, I paid roughly around 60% for that lot. So all in all, we had a lot of equity going into this weekend when it came to what we could use for trade bait and what we were adding to the collection. But overall, on the surface, I could honestly say that in pretty much a week, we've added somewhere in the neighborhood of like $7,000 worth of games to the collection. Not that it's about the dollar, but it just kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at in terms of dollars spent versus the value. Now let's talk about the different avenues. So with this stack is a collection of games that I got from someone who reached out to me via Instagram. And just so you guys know, I am purchasing games. So if you're wanting to sell pieces of your collection, reach out to me. I am rebuilding my collection, and I'm just finding that it's a lot easier for me to rebuild my collection by buying games in bulk versus like going out and picking them one by one. It's just easier for me to do it that way. So if you have any part of your collection that you're wanting to sell, reach out to me. I'm really looking for Gen 6 and older, and right now I'm focusing on a lot of Sega. So if you have Sega Genesis, Sega Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, Sega CD, reach out to me, let me know. So these are just some of the DS games that were added into my collection. I don't have them all. It was a pretty large sum of DS games. I would say it was probably about 40 DS games or so. And I showed some of them in a video the other day, but I'll just kind of go over some of them here. You've got Fighting Fantasy, Black Sigil, I think that's how you say that, Pokemon Platinum, Pokemon White 2, Pokemon Black 2, Emily the Strange, Dark Spire, and Resident Evil. So those are just some kind of uncommon DS games, and I don't think I had any of these in my original collection. So these were really cool to add. I also had a complete in-box DS Lite, and then we had Mega Man X Command Mission with the trading card, Silent Hill 2, Fist of the North Star, and 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. Also in that was a DSi XL. So really good stuff added back to the collection from this batch here. So this is actually a really cool pickup. Now, as I said before, a lot of those games that I wasn't going to keep in the collection, I bundled them all together and rolled them into a trade for these stack of games that you see here. So pretty much these games were paid for by the games that I didn't want out of the two lots that I picked up. And again, I have not used all of those games yet, so I haven't burnt through all of the trade credit, but these are just the ones that I picked up, and I picked these up today. Shout out to Retro Teo, really cool store. The owner is super cool. I've gotten a bunch of stuff from him already. He's helping me find some of the more really niche games that I know I'm not gonna find easily out in the wild, so he's been helping me out. I did get Darkwing Duck for the NES. I did not have this in my original collection, so this was super cool to get and add. We've got Golden Axe, we've got The Revenge of Shinobi, Wings of War, and Truxton. Every single Sega Genesis game in this stack has the hang tag and is in a really good condition. The manuals are really good. The cases and artwork are really good. So these games were well taken care of, just like how I like them. I like my stuff as fresh as possible. And then we did get back Spike Out Battle Street. I was nervous when I sold that out of my collection that I wasn't going to be able to find that again. And I'm glad that I was able to get that back for the Xbox. For those of you who know, that is a tough one to find. So this one was really good to get back into the collection. So really great stack of games here. I brought him a bunch of games. He didn't take them all. He let me know what he wanted, and that was totally cool. He reserves the right to make his selection. I'm trying to make a deal with him, so it's his pick of the litter. So he picked what he wanted, gave me really good trade credit, and we were able to do a deal. So I'm sure I'll be back, and I'm sure I'll be covering that store more, and just have more to share there. So this is the like networking stack or social media. These are games that I got from someone who reached out. These are the trade games. And then you have this stack here. Now this is the GameStop stack. And the GameStop stack is actually pretty decent as well. Probably not as heavy hitting as the first two, but there are some really good games in here. And this is where you'll see some of the Switch stuff too. So we did get 2 Vita games, and I did get a very clean Vita from GameStop. I actually had a bunch of trade credit that I used towards this, so got a really good deal on this Vita. I think after tax, it was like 130 something for this Vita, which I was willing to pay for because there are a lot of Vitas out there. A lot of them are either imports or they're just in bad condition. This Vita was crispy, as you can see right here, like crispy. So for me, this was, whenever I see things in good condition, I'm really prioritizing condition as much as I can these days. So that was a really good pickup for me. Then here you'll see we got Velocity 2X. We had a really cool, what is this? The Firefly Diary, a really cool Vita game here. Got something for the PSP, SNK Arcade Classics, which is funny based on what we just heard about the Neo Geo. We got The Messenger and Marvel Cosmic Invasion. This is a great one. So once I come back from the park with my daughter to settle in for the evening, we'll probably play a little bit of that. I added Turtles Mutants in Manhattan back to the PS3. We had some GameCube games. I think most of you guys have seen these already. And then we have some original Xbox games. You guys saw this earlier in this week. I picked these up earlier in the week. That was Ed, Edd and Eddy. Otogi came in the mail. This one is a little bit discolored, so I'm going to have to find a replacement cover art for my copy of Otogi. But I did pick up iNinja. I thought that one was kind of interesting, so I grabbed that. And then Spider-Man Edge of Time. These are all complete in box. Everything here is complete in box, in great condition. So these were some solid pickups. Then you have this stack, and this stack is the pawn shop / Amazon stack. So really the only game that we got from Amazon was Eartheon. I've been playing a lot of this game. This game to me is like a recreation of Lightning Force for the Sega Genesis. It has like the sound effects of like Streets of Rage 1, and it like blends the sound effects of like Streets of Rage 1 and like a bunch of random shoot 'em ups on the Sega Genesis. And it has this very like Lightning Force-ish type of feel to it. I think the gameplay is cool. I like how they've paid homage to the shoot 'em ups before this one. It feels very inspired by 90s Sega Genesis shoot 'em ups. But this is a great one. If you're a fan of shoot 'em ups, I definitely recommend it. This was an Amazon pickup. And then you have these here. These are just pawn shop pickups here. So I used some of the trade bait from the N64 lot to pick up Cannon Spike earlier in the week. So that was a really good trade there. And then we got Batman and Quackshot. Now, you might be wondering, why would Y2K get Quackshot? Quackshot is a difficult game to find complete in box. Some of these Sega Genesis games are just hard to find complete in box. Some of them, for some reason, there's certain Genesis games that like it's really hard to find them with a good manual. So was able to get Quackshot, and then Batman. This was just one I needed to add back to my collection because I had this in my original collection, and this is in very good condition as well. So these are 3 pawn shop pickups as well. And as you can see, you're just gonna get different things from different avenues. You know what I mean? When you go to like a mom and pop shop, especially a mom and pop shop that's loaded the way Retro Teo shop is, you are going to get straight bangers, straight fire, straight heat, whatever you want to call it. That's what you're going to get out of there. when you do trades or when you do like lot pickups, you're probably going to get some things that you wouldn't ordinarily get, or get games that you probably never even heard of. But you might discover some things that are worth checking out. You might discover some games that, like, oh shoot, I never knew this was out, but this is one worth looking into. And so that was the case for me. You guys know I don't typically buy Pokemon. I actually bought the lot because it had like Contra 4 and Chrono Trigger for the DS, and it had a bunch of other DS games that I'm familiar with and I enjoy. But these are just a bunch of games that I would never have really considered, but they're still cool to have in the collection, and definitely ones worth considering. GameStop is just really kind of a luck of the draw avenue. The good thing about, GameStop is obviously you get the little discount. You could use your points and coupons and stuff like that. And then pawn shops are really, this stack is the smallest because it's really like, you know there's really usually not a lot there that I'm interested in, but when they do have things that are worth picking up, it's usually something really, really good. So, you can choose whichever avenue you want, but what I'm finding is that, you know, I think that going the lot purchase route, like when you buy complete lots or when you buy complete collections, in my opinion, it's way better because, one, you get to meet really cool people. You get to, meet people who are also part of the retro gaming community, hear their story, hear about how they picked up some of these games. And then two, you're introduced to games that you never would have considered, or games that you probably never heard of. And then three, you always have the option for the things that you're not really interested in. You can take those things and roll the things that you don't necessarily want to keep into games that you actually do want to get. So I think that that's really, really cool as well. So, but it's been an exciting week. It's been a busy week. I don't have any other like collection purchases on the horizon at this point. So it looks like things might get a little slow over the next couple weeks. But if anything changes, I'll definitely let you guys know. You guys let me know what you think, which stack was the best. Was it the collection buyout? Was it the mom and pop shop retro game store? Was it the GameStop? Or was it the pawn shop? You guys let me know, and I'll catch you in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.